Okay, just a quick disclaimer before this video starts. Like nothing I do should be recreated or reenacted because it is against the Roblox terms of services. Like this video is simply for like educational purposes and for JP to get an insight on how CBring works. Right, so I've got a place here which has a part which is anchored and a part which is not anchored, and this is the part which is anchored and this is the part which is not anchored. Alright, so I've got two scripts which will help me to show you guys how a part which is anchored and how a part which is not anchored will be seen on the first person view and on the third person view when it is CBring, I guess. Alright, so first is the part which is anchored. So if you keep looking at my screen here, which is the first person view, it gets brought to me. Normally it is what it is, alright, but on the third person view it is not shown. Like even if I am to go right to the part and do it, it will not be shown that I have it. Alright, so I'm gonna rejoin and I'm gonna show you what happens if I do the same to a part which is not anchored. Alright, so I've got the script here. Alright, so now I have it right here. Like I have the part which is not anchored right here, and it is, you know, it's the same as the part which is anchored except the fact that it fucking moves around like it's retarded. Alright, so the thing which happens on the third person view here is that sometimes it is shown on the third person view. So I'm gonna go to where it is on this side. Alright, so it will take a few tries, so I'm gonna speed it up until I do make it work. Alright, there we go. As you can see, the part now is being shown stuck to my sword on both my view and the third person view, and I am going to explain why this happens once I get to the CBring script and showing it how it works on a character. But like long story short, I'm just going to put this in simple words. When a part which is not anchored is touched, or like is like touched by another character, let's say, it will give the character like something which is called network ownership. So it gives the character like network ownership, which basically like gives them the power to change and like manipulate the physics of the part which is not anchored. And I'm gonna go into that a bit more in depth when I go to the CBring part, which is right now. Alright, so I'm gonna be using the catcall script, the infamous catcall script made by Dapley. But before I do that, I want to debunk something. Like, I've heard a lot of people have this theory that when characters are not dead, their parts are, what's it called? Like their parts are anchored. But that's not true, because if I go into Dex and show you the parts here, as you can see, they are all not ticked, which means they are unanchored. But it is indeed because of how I explained, when a character is alive, it will not give permission for someone else to gain the network ownership over it. So I'm gonna go back to showing the CBring now. I'm gonna make it pretty big so you guys can see how it works. I'm gonna make it pretty big. I'll make it like 20 or whatever. So as you can see, it's right there. It is brought to me on my screen, but not on that screen. So if I am to lunge from far away, it will kill them, and I will still have the parts in my hand or whatever. So now this is where it's gonna take. It might take a long time, but I'm gonna try and show how it can be shown on the third person view as well. So this might take a few tries. Right, if you saw those, like those parts fling up, that can happen too. And I'm gonna try walk over. Alright, if you saw that, alright, okay. So what? Okay, so I'm gonna explain like why that happens, right? So when a Roblox character is dead or has died, it will allow another character to have the network. It will allow the character to have the network ownership over it, basically. So I'm trying to not make this too complicated, but like what this means is that it will allow whoever like touches the dead character's body or walk over it, it will give them like permission to change and manipulate the physics of the pot, which is unanchored. It always has to be unanchored. So, and that's where it came in with, like a Roblox character is always anchored, but I mean it is always like not anchored. So when a character is dead, it will give the permission to gain the network ownership. But when it is alive, it does not do that. Which means it will not be shown if I am to CBring now, but it will show if the character is dead, as you can see. Yeah. So that's basically how CBring works. If you do have any questions, just like let me know. But that's basically it. Like when a character is alive, it will not give network ownership, but when it is dead, it will allow a character to walk over the dead parts and gain the network ownership required to change and manipulate the physics of the part, which is unanchored. Alright, there we go.